Hello friends, welcome to Gyan Mandir. Today we are going to discuss about education during Buddhist period or Buddhist age. In India during the time of Buddha, there was a racial discrimination in the society. This discrimination was according to profession of man and according to birth. In the society there were four divisions and Brahman was superior. Brahmanism dominated the society and established their supremacy in the country. They enjoyed rights for religious training and education, but other category of people deprived of their religious and educational rights. In this background, a religious revolution started in ancient India in 600 BC and a new doctrine or system developed, which is called Buddhist doctrine or Buddhist philosophy. It is to be said that on the foundation of Buddhism, a new and special education system originated in ancient India. Buddhism made a tremendous movement which played a valuable role in the development of education system in ancient India or ancient Buddhist world. There was progress in all aspects of Indian civilization under the impact of Buddhism. There arose many centers of learning which did not exist before. Before dealing with the education in Buddhist period, it is essential to have some knowledge of Buddhism, and so a short discussion is being give here. Through some scholars have said Buddhism does not seem to be an Indian religion, but this idea is simply based on the ignorance of historical knowledge. Buddhism was born in India and was started by Gautam Buddha, who was an Indian prince of Sakya dynasty of Kshatriyas. Buddhism was not a sudden investigation of any thought. It was the natural evolution of Indian line of thinking which was expressed in religious, philosophical, social and political sphere of society. Then comes to discuss about principles of Buddhism. Looking at the principles of Buddhism, we naturally come across the four principles. There is suffering, the cause of sufferings, checks of sufferings, and the ways to destroy sufferings. These are the four principles of Buddhism. Then we discuss about aims of education. Buddha preached his followers the four noble truths. These are: first one is there is suffering in life. Second one is this suffering has a cause. Third one is this suffering could be removed by destroying its cause. And fourth one is the cause of suffering is desire, that is responsible for the births and rebirths of man. When this selfish desire for existence has ceased to act in man, he urged, it is only then possible for the individual soul to obtain nirvana or freedom from the unending cycle of birth and deaths. The desire can only be removed by the following 8 noble fold paths, which is known as Ashtanga Marga. These 8 fold noble paths are: first one is right views or faith, second one is right aspiration, third one is right speech, fourth one is right action, fifth one is right livelihood, sixth one is right efforts, seventh one is right mindfulness, and eighth one is right contemplation. These are the eightfold path which is known as Ashtanga Marga. Except this, the chief aims of Buddhist education are: first one is development of education. The chief aim of Buddhist education was all-round development of child's personality. This included his physical, mental, moral and intellectual development. The aim of Buddhist education is to make a free man a wise, intelligent, moral, non-violent and secular man. Second chief aim is intrinsic nature of education. The Buddhist education system aimed at regaining our intrinsic nature. Buddha's teaching helps us to realize that innate, perfect, ultimate wisdom. With wisdom, we can then solve all our problems and turn suffering into happiness. Third aim is development of education. The chief aim of Buddhist education was all-round development of child's personality. This included his physical, mental, moral and intellectual development. Fourth aim is formation of character. During this period, in the organization of education, special emphasis was laid on the formation of character of the students. Student life was hard and rigorous. They observed celibacy. Then fifth aim is religious education. In the Buddhist era, religion was given top priority and education was imparted through it. The chief aim of education was propagation of religion and inculcation of religious feelings, and education served as a mean to achieve salvation or nirvana. Then next aim, sixth aim, preparation for life. In this system of education, there was a provision for imparting worldly and practical knowledge along with religious education, so that when the students entered normal life, they may be able to earn their livelihood. Then comes to discuss the Four Noble Truths. What are the Four Noble Truths? Buddha was primarily an ethical teacher and reformer, not a metaphysician. The message of his enlightenment points to man the way of life that leads beyond suffering. The Four Noble Truths are: there is suffering. Second one is there is cause of suffering, means dukkha samudraya. Then third one is there is cessation of suffering, dukkha nirodha. Then fourth one is there is a way leading to the cessation of suffering, dukkha nirodha marga. Then comes to discuss about initial form of education under Buddhism. Buddha Sangha. Buddhism had been spread over India by 600 BC and it developed in the form of Sanghas. Buddhism developed through the monasteries and viharas, where educational work was also carried on. In short, the history of education in Buddha period is interrelated with the history of these monasteries and viharas, because there were no independent educational institutions or centers. Admission into Sangha was mostly based more or less on the rules and regulations observed by Gurukulas in Vedic period. Like the students' Vedic period, here also the students had to present themselves before the teacher to ask for the admission. Bodhisattva himself requested Udbaka to accept him as a disciples of religion and he as Buddha accepted the monks as students of religion to free from sufferings. Thus, the relation of teacher and taught remained almost the same as it was in Vedic period, and the students were called the disciples of the teachers and not the monks of Sangha. Prabhaja, what is Prabhaja? Prabhaja like the Upanayana ceremony. Prabhaja was performed in Buddha period before a student could get into the Sangha for education. The meaning of the word Prabhaja is to go out. The boys went of their families and joined Sangha. Generally, everyone had the opportunity to undergo Prabhaja and become a Buddhist monk. After admission into Sangha, they could remain as a monk. They had to change the former caste, dress, character, etc. Everything changed. Through theoretically, all the cases were allowed to get admitted into the Sangha and become Buddha. But practically and mostly the people of higher classes were admitted there. But it is also true that some of the monks were derived from the lower castes. Such references are found in Buddhist literature. Age. What is the age to admission in Sangha? The age limit fixed for Prabhaja was 8 years. At the time of entering into Sangha, the disciple must have attained the age of 8 years. There they had to receive education for 12 years, and during this period the new monk made his preparation for the Sangha life. Afterwards, at the age of 20 years, he accepted Upasambada and became full-fledged member of the Sangha. After Prabhaja, new monk was called Sarmana. If you needed, then in a special class, we should be discussed about the Prabhaja ceremony and Upasambada ceremony. Then comes to the point, role of student. The teacher were highly qualified. The aim of Buddhist education is to make a free man a wise, intelligent, moral, non-violent and secular man. Students become judicious, humanistic, logical and free from superstitions. Students become free from greed, lust and ignorance. Buddhist education was wide open and available to the people of all walks of life. The principal goal of the Buddhist education is to change an unwise to wise, beast to priest. The teacher were the guardian of the students. The student was expected to serve his teacher with all devotion. On rising in the morning, the student will arrange everything for the daily routine of the teacher. He will cook his food and clean his clothes and utensils. Whatever he acquired through begging alms, he would place before teacher. The student had to prepare himself to receive education at any time whenever the teacher required him. In order to meet the primary wants of life, the students begged with a begging bowl, which was made of only iron or clay and not other material. Besides the begging bowl, the students carried other equipment like needles, scissors, drugs and a stenor for their begging journey. One of the important duties of the students was to help and nurse the sick students. Then comes to discuss about discipline. The core of Buddha's teaching, the Buddha teaching contains three major points: discipline, meditation, and wisdom. Wisdom is the goal, and deep meditation or concentration in the crucial process toward achieving wisdom. Discipline through observing the precepts or teachers is the method that helps one to achieve deep meditation. Wisdom will then be realized naturally. Buddha's entire teaching as conveyed in the sutras never really differed from these 3 points. After getting education in the Buddhist schools, colleges, and universities, one cannot do any injustice, tell a lie, commit theft, cannot kill, cannot be addicted in wine, and make himself free from any immoral work. In this way, students become free from greed, lust, enmity, and ignorance. Buddhism encompasses the entire collection of works by Buddha Sakyamuni and is called the Tripitaka. This can be classified into 3 categories: Sutra, Vinaya, and Shastra, which emphasize meditation, discipline, and wisdom respectively. The monk and the students in Buddhist period were following the simple living and high thinking. Their lives were full of purity, nobleness, dutifulness, and humanity, and are supposed to follow the Ashtanga Marga. We already discussed about Ashtanga Marga, which is right views, right aspiration, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right contemplation. सम्यक दृष्टि, सम्यक संकल्प, सम्यक वाक्य, सम्यक कर्म, सम्यक जीव, सम्यक व्यायाम, सम्यक चेतन, सम्यक समाधि. These are the 8 Ashtanga Marga. Then comes to discuss about the role of teacher. In the educational system of Buddhism, much stress was laid on the efficiency of the teachers. The teacher himself must have spent at least 10 years as a monk and necessarily must have the purity of character, purity of thoughts, and generosity, etc. Then essentially he was expected to be of a high mental order so that he might teach his disciple the religion and nobleness and may also successfully combat the wrong religious notions. Both the teacher and student were responsible to the monastery. But regarding education, clothes, food, and residence of the student monk, the teacher was fully responsible. The teacher was also responsible for any treatment of students whenever he fell ill. The teacher used to bestow all the affection to his student and used to educate his through lecture and question answer method. The duties of teachers were imparting education to the students, writing book, propagation of religion, discussion, and arrangement of debate for the clarification of serious subjects. The teachers were responsible for physical, mental, spiritual, and moral development of the students. Teacher loved the students and helped them in every affair. They also took care of them during their diseases and agony. The teachers were responsible for their food, accommodation, and other necessaries of livelihood. They kept eyes on the all round development of students. Specially, they were serious about the obedience of the Sangha rules, meditation, and concentration to their learning. During Buddhist period, the place of teacher in the scheme of education was very important. There were a categories of teachers, acharyas and upadhyayas. Then comes to discuss about relationship between guru with the students. What are the relation of guru with the students? The teacher used to lead a very simple life and had limited necessaries. Being learned man of high character, knowing themselves and having self-control, the teacher put the same ideal before their thoughts. The evidence of Huensang proves that the teachers living in Buddha Viharas were great and eminent scholars and put before the students inspiring ideals. It should also be remembered that they were paid very little for their personal expenditure. Prominent teachers of even a famous university like Nalanda were receiving for their expenses equal to 3 times the expenditures being given to an ordinary student. To take service had become the right of the teacher, and if any student failed in serving the teacher, he was considered inefficient and was turned out of the Sangha. Then comes to the point curriculum. Buddhist education system developed on the basis of some basic principles. This education gave emphasis on the moral, mental and physical development and also to divert the students towards the Sangha rules and guide them to follow it. The main stress was given to have a clear idea of Tripitaka, which consists of Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. The entire Tripitaka consists of Buddha's teachings, message, philosophy and rules for the bhikkhus. The curriculum was chiefly spiritual in nature. It was because the chief aim of education was to attain salvation. So, the study of the religious books was most important. This type of curriculum was meant only for monks. Besides this, spinning, weaving, painting of the clothes, tailoring, sketching, accountancy, medicines, surgery and coinage were the other subjects of Buddhist education. At the initial stage, medium of education was mother tongue. Later, it included Pali and Prakriti, and in the following days, Sanskrit also included as a medium of instruction. There were two types of education, primary and higher education. In primary education, reading, writing and arithmetic were taught, and in higher education, religion, philosophy, Ayurveda, military training was included. Everyone was free to choose his subject without any restriction. Vocational education was also not ignored during the Buddhist system of education. Then comes to the point methods of teaching. First point is verbal education. Through the art of writing had been well developed up to Buddhist period, yet due to shortage and no availability of writing materials, verbal education was prevalent as it was in Vedic age. Second method is discussion. In order to win discussion or shastrartha and impress the general public, it was necessary to improve the power of discussion. This was also needed to satisfy the crises and opposing groups and establish one's own cult. Thus, rules were framed for discussion. Then third one is prominence of logic. The importance of discussion encouraged the logic in the Buddhist period. The controversial matters could not be decided without logical argument. Logic was also useful in the development of the mental power and knowledge. The fourth method is tours. The main of the Buddhist monks was to propagate Buddhism. Hence, some acharyas like Sariputta, Mahaya Galabha, Aniruddha, Rahula, etc. gave the importance to tours for educating people. Then, fifth one is conference. Conferences were arranged on every full moon and first day of month in the Buddhist Sanghas. The monks of different Sanghas assembled and put forward their doubts freely. The attendance of every monk was compulsory in such conferences. Then sixth one is meditation in solitude. Some Buddhist monks were more interested in isolated spiritual meditation in lonely forests and caves. Only those monks were considered fit for lonely meditation who had fully renounced the worldly attraction and had spent enough time in sanghas and had gained the efficiency for solitary meditations. Then comes to the point women education. Women education during Buddhist period was at its lowest ebb. As the women flock were despised in the sense that Lord Buddha had regarded them as the source of all evils. So he had advised during his lifetime not to admit women in monasteries. But after some times, due to the insistence of his dear pupils, Ananda Buddha had permitted about 500 women along with his stepmother for admission in the Viharas with many restrictions and reservation. The women scholars of Buddhist monasteries were called bhikkhunis. Their spiritual knowledge was very high and they could influence a good number of people. Many bhikkhunis took the duties of social service also. They served the sick, orphans, etc., and considered it to be their primary duty. Some of them had studied the philosophy deeply and had become poets and writers. Some of them had studied even politics and took active part in politics of the day. Some of them had even gone to foreign countries to preach Buddhism. Silva Tarika, Prabhu Devi, and Bhiyanka were famous in those days as poets and writers. The sister of Emperor Ashoka, Sanghamitra, was very famous bhikkhunis who had done remarkable services of Buddhism. This is all about Buddhist education or education during the Buddhist period. Hope you all have a basic concept clarity about education during Buddhist period. If you are new in this channel, then don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for get notification of new uploaded videos. Thank you.